When we think about where the next big pandemic might come from, our minds usually go to crowded cities or faraway jungles, right? But what if I told you the next major threat is actually buried deep in the frozen north? Today, we're diving into this startling possibility that the next global health crisis might not come from where we expect, but from the ancient, melting ice of the Arctic.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. Something is waking up. It sounds like the tagline for a horror movie. But this isn't fiction. This is a very real question that scientists are grappling with. See, as our planet warms up, the ice is basically letting go of its secrets. And some of those secrets are ancient organisms, things that have been frozen for millennia, and are now, well, they're starting to stir.
But to really get a handle on the risk here, we have to start with the ground itself. So let's dig in, literally, to what permafrost actually is.
So permafrost, it's just ground that stays frozen all year round. But the sheer scale of it is just mind-boggling. We are not talking about a little patch of icy dirt here. This stuff blankets nearly a quarter of the entire northern hemisphere, and some of it has been frozen solid for hundreds of thousands of years. Just think about that.
Yeah, it's way more than just frozen dirt. It's better to think of it as a giant natural time capsule. Locked inside is this perfectly preserved record of Earth's past. We're talking ancient animals, plants, and here's the important part: countless microscopic lifeforms. So, what makes it so good at this? What makes it the perfect freezer? Well, it really comes down to these three things. First, it's extremely cold, obviously. Second, there's very little oxygen, which stops the kind of microbes that cause things to decay. And third, it's just completely sealed off from the outside world. All that together creates nature's perfect cryo chamber.
And that leads us to the big question, the one we're facing right now. For thousands upon thousands of years, this whole system was stable, but that stability, it's coming to an end, and fast.
And here's the number that really kicks this whole thing into high gear. 4 times. The Arctic is warming up to 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. This isn't some slow, gradual shift. It's a rapid, dramatic transformation, and it's the engine driving this entire issue.
The consequences of that are just massive. Scientists are projecting that by the end of this century, we could lose up to 2/3 of the permafrost near the surface. So just try to picture that massive frozen time capsule simply melting away and releasing everything that it's held locked away for eons.
So, what is being let out? Well, this brings us to the part of the story that grabs all the headlines, these so-called zombie viruses. Let's take a look at the actual science behind the scare.
And if you're still thinking this all sounds like science fiction, get this. Scientists in a lab successfully revived a virus that had been frozen solid in Siberia for nearly 50,000 years. Let that sink in. 48,000 years. That's tens of thousands of years before the last ice age even ended. This is real. And how they did it is actually pretty straightforward. They took a frozen sample from the permafrost, thawed it out very carefully in the lab, and then introduced it to a modern-day amoeba. And incredibly, after being dormant for millennia, that ancient virus, it woke up. And it infected the amoeba.
So this is the big takeaway, the crucial point. It's not a theory anymore. We have actual, concrete proof that viruses can survive being frozen for tens of thousands of years and come back just as infectious as they ever were.
So, okay, a concept as terrifying as zombie viruses makes it really easy for the story to get a little out of control. Which brings us to a key question. How are scientists actually sizing up this threat?
So you've got these two sides, right? On one hand, you have the scare, the big splashy headline, zombie virus triggers the next global pandemic. But then you have the science, which is, a bit more measured. Most experts agree that the immediate risk of some ancient pathogen causing a global catastrophe is pretty low. But, and this is a really important but, it's not zero. So, why are they cautious instead of panicking? Well, for one, when we look back through history, we don't really find any clear evidence of ancient pandemics being linked to thawing ice, even though people have lived in the Arctic for millennia. That idea of a single supervirus emerging to wipe us out is, for now, probably overhyped.
But if the big risk isn't one single zombie virus, then what is it? Well, the real danger is a bit more complicated. And honestly, it has everything to do with us.
The environmental change, all that melting ice, that's only one half of the equation. It's a huge piece of the puzzle, for sure, but it is not the whole story. This is where the real risk snaps into focus. It's not just the thaw, and it's not just human activity. The danger is at the intersection, where this changing natural world meets our own expanding industrial footprint.
That's what creates this new, unpredictable problem.
See, as the permafrost melts, huge areas of the Arctic that were totally inaccessible before are opening up, and that's creating a new gold rush, a rush for resources. We're talking massive mining operations, oil and gas drilling, big construction projects, all involving digging deep into this newly thawed ancient ground.
And it all boils down to this simple, kind of dangerous math. You have more ancient microbes being released from the ice, and at the exact same time, you have more people coming in, drilling and digging right where they're emerging. So more contact plus more microbes equals a much, much higher risk of exposure. It's that simple.
And this quote really gets to the heart of it. Pandemics are rarely just one single freak event. They're almost always the result of a chain reaction. An environmental change pushes a pathogen out of its home, it might jump to a new host, maybe an animal, and then it eventually finds its way to us. And what we're doing in the Arctic, we are creating the perfect conditions for that exact chain reaction to happen.
So maybe the best way to think about this whole situation isn't as a ticking time bomb. It's something a little more subtle, and maybe even more dangerous. It's a Pandora's box. We're breaking open an ancient, stable system without having any clue what's really inside.
And that leaves us with this final, critical question. For hundreds of thousands of years, these ecosystems were stable, they were sealed. Now, we're the ones actively prying them open on a massive scale. And the uncomfortable truth is, we are disturbing something ancient, and we have absolutely no way to control what comes out.